The John Wick genre is getting a little bit out of hand. We're gonna need to tone it down. I'm John Stark from MagMovieGuy.com, and I'm glad you clicked on my face. I'm glad that you looked at my face. If you're a sighted person and you looked at my face and you were like, this guy seems to know what he's talking about. Because it makes me feel special. And I like people who make me feel special, so click subscribe, validate me, and keep me around in your life forever. This is Wrath of Becky. Is available on Paramount Plus with Showtime. I say with Showtime because it is technically, you have to have the Showtime add-on to Paramount Plus. But if you don't really, I mean, like, what are you doing with your life? Why do you have Paramount Plus if you're not going to do a Showtime add-on at this point? And depressingly, it does not have audio description. Showtime was like, you know what? I know this is a 2023 release, but I'm not feeling it. We're not going to bother to pick up the audio description for this film. We're not going to do it. You know, we're Showtime, and people don't really expect much from us anymore. Our hottest shows are all old and dying. So, yeah. Welcome. Anyway, so Wrath of Becky sadly does not have audio description. But can we watch it without it? I want to. That's my honest response. I want to say yes, but I can't. And we'll talk about why. So, I'm going to continue to use the term Becky because Wrath of Becky, it's a term that they use in the film, but I don't think her name is actually Becky. But it's weird to not call any. It's weird to not refer to the character as such when the title is there, but the title is supposed to be like derogatory, and I don't know. It's very weird. Anyway, so Lulu Wilson is our Becky, who is angry. She's angry because life has continuously thrown her curveballs. She lost her mom to cancer. She lost her dad to Nazis. And yes, she did. And she recently, she's been trying to gain the strength and find security in her life and feel like she has a safe place. And then all of a sudden, a domestic terrorist cell breaks into this house of this woman that she's living with. And, you know, they think they can harass, who they think, and they end up killing her friend. So everybody she seems to love just keeps dying, and she's had about enough. And on top of that, they took her fucking dog. It's another dog movie. Is there a movie where somebody's cat is kidnapped? Is it a film? If it is, drop it in the comments. Is there a John Wickish type of film where somebody goes on like a revenge spree because their cat was stolen or their cat was killed, and they were just like living their life, and then they unleashed their particular set of skills because of a cat? Or is it always going to be a dog? Or are we just going to keep traumatizing dogs for the rest of our lives? So at this point, I don't want to spoil anything for you, but there is a website. It's called Does the Dog Die? I think it might be Does the Dog Die at the End or something like that. But yeah, you can look it up and find out the answers to those questions. If you're worried about experiencing animal abuse. Oddly enough, if you're worried about seeing animal abuse but you're totally okay with like a head exploding, I really don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with that. I have no idea what to do with that. This film is incredibly violent. And I didn't even have audio description to know that. It's that sound. Do you know what I'm saying? It's that exploding melon sound when somebody is either shot or exploded in a film that you can, it just like goes everywhere. Um, that led me to believe that this film is ultra violent. Becky, apparently, uh, she has a very particular set of skills that she's accumulated, not really over a long period of time because she's not that old, but from the Girl Scouts. And she's gonna go fuck up these domestic terrorists. It's kind of a comedy, but it's also pretty serious. But it's kind of a comedy. It's a dark comedy. And she's gonna get her dog back, and that is the goal of this film, is to get revenge on the people who entered her safe space and thought they could just be racist assholes and domestic terrorists. And these are literally, this film is so very targeted at the Proud Boys. I think this terrorist cell literally has something. It has a very similar name. I can't remember the name of the group, but immediately when I heard it, I was like, "That's just an adjective for proud, and then men instead of boys." So it's just like, it's they basically are. They're making a statement here with this film. So, yeah, it's a fun little film to watch. This little teenage girl harass these people that have this arsenal of weapons on premises, and yet they can't seem to get their shit together to defeat her. She seems to be very much more equipped than they assumed she would be, given what they knew about her, and she is able to show up, and she's like, when the girl was good, she was good, but when the girl was bad, she was very bad. And they're like, I'm not fighting some girl who has nursery rhymes. So they just totally do not believe that they need to give her the time of day. And she just, at first she just kind of wants her dog back. At least that's what she tells them. She's like, where's my dog? And they don't even want to like follow through on that. Like the first guy that goes out to face her is like, no, I'm not going to do that, because she's seen our faces. So she's going to go to the cops. So I'm going to go handle this the way a man would. As one might expect in a film of this genre, things do not go these people's ways. Just like anybody who's like, I can take care of John Wick, and you're like, dude, you're just a random henchman. This guy's been doing this forever. What are you talking about? Why are you even fighting him? Like, you think you're going to be the one to take down John Wick? Anyway, it does sort of have that mentality to it, where she just kind of easily works her way through this little clan. I like the word clan. We're going to use clan. This little group is run by, interestingly enough, a character played by Sean William Scott, which I found him to be delightful in this. It's not normally a role that I would have thought and been like, this feels like a Sean William Scott role, but he actually does a pretty good job of being this sort of like angry leader of this domestic terrorist cell, and he actually didn't have any part in the thing that pissed her off. His people did. His dumbass little followers did. And so he's pretty angry at them too. He's like, you brought this shit to my door, go fix it. He doesn't really want to get his hands dirty until such time where he feels like he has to. But he's also quite annoyed with the inconvenience of the situation. He's trying to plan an insurrection, and this is not helping. Meanwhile, Becky also reveals that she has something of his that he wants. She managed to get the entire membership roster for this little terrorist organization. All those people who have regular jobs, who some of them maybe work in law enforcement or in the government, who don't want people to know that they are members of this organization. She's got the list, and she hid it somewhere, and she ain't telling where it is. And she's got evidence to be able to send to the cops, and now he's concerned. And he's still got her dog. So this kind of just builds and builds. And sort of has a continuously violent, spree to it. But it doesn't have audio description. And a film like this, it's about the kills. You know what I'm saying? It's like watching John Wick and just listening to people die and not knowing how they died or when they died or, really, or even how many characters there are. There was one scene in the film where I was listening to the people talk and literally like another character appeared and I was like, where were you? Who are you? Where did you come from? I didn't even know he was in the room. And I feel like, audio description would have let me know how many people were in the room to begin with, or maybe dropped some names. And I was just like, oh, there's one more guy in here. Okay, so they have one more, because I was counting how many people they had to be able to even throw up against her. It's a very short movie. It's like 80 minutes of your life. So when you go through this, when you have a film that has that sort of like horror movie setup where like you take out a person one by one by one, the length of the film really is based on how many people are there to potentially be killed. So yes, there's setup to the film. Yes, we're introduced to the character. Yes, we're introduced to her friend, and she imparts all of this wisdom upon her, and it does take up a chunk of time at the beginning of the film. And then the rest of the film becomes this revenge plot. So it always feels like it's paced really well, because it cannot possibly be paced any better, because the film is already so short. I don't know how to make this film I don't know how to fix the pacing of this film otherwise. It's an hour and 20 minutes long. Like, it's for all the people out there that complain about how films being too long or pacing or whatever, this film is it can't be any shorter than this. Like, we don't release films theatrically with like an hour and 10-minute runtime that are live action. The shortest film I can think of that was released theatrically was an animated cartoon. It was the Winnie the Pooh remake from years back, which was like barely over an hour. So yeah, it's not, we don't do that for live action films. 80 minutes is pretty short, and it does flow, and the action scenes seem cool, but they're not described, so I don't really know. I guess slight spoiler, but the first guy that goes out to encounter her, not that you shouldn't expect, are you expecting her to lose? This is like a revenge thriller. I think it kind of sets itself up to where you expect bad things are going to happen to the domestic terrorists. They're not even set up as people that you're supposed to like, so I don't really it's really hard to say. But anyway, first guy goes out, and he thinks he has the upper hand the whole time, and then she somehow gets him into a trap. But I didn't even conceptually understand how he got into the trap. I don't understand what the trap was. So I missed the whole thing in the exposition. He's just sort of, there's no description for that. She got him somehow. I don't know. A fucking cage fell from the sky. I have no idea. I don't know where he is. I don't know how he's trapped. Cool. And then I had some questions about that same character's death. That's also a spoiler, but again, it's the first one to go out, so I don't know what you expect. It's not Sean William Scott, so it's just someone else. without that information, I don't know. And she's out there lurking in their woods, you know, kind of stalking them and tracking them down. And it would have been appreciative to know where she was, you know, who she was seeing, who she was following, where she's creeping, all those kinds of things. And I didn't really get any of that. So it's a film that I feel like I would have liked had it had audio description, but sadly it does not have audio description. There's even a scene where they are threatening her by harming her dog. The one thing that they seem to have of her is that she seems to not want anything to come to, and they start doing something and you can hear the dog whimpering, but you're not really sure what it is that's happening, which maybe is good if you're blind and you don't like mistreatment of animals. But you know, the dog whimpers a little bit and obviously is uncomfortable with its situation. So, but I have no idea. None. I don't know what that person was doing to the dog, you know. I got nothing. So, and that's kind of how I felt like the whole film. The film has an absolutely ridiculous ending to it. Absolutely bonkers. The film has an ending that really made me think, are you planning sequels? Like, I was just like, is there going to be more? Is there going to be a chapter 2? Like, I don't think this film had a major release. If a sequel came, I'd be shocked. But I think they think they're getting a sequel, and I don't know how to tell them they're not. But the film definitely has, like, decides to have this, like, final moment where they're like, let's set up a sequel just in case. You're like, all right, this feels wholly unnecessary, but I'll go with you on this. So it's not perfect, but it does feel like something I would have enjoyed if it had audio description. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to say my grade is unwatchable, because when you tune into a film like this, you want the action. You want to know what's happening, and a lot of times sound effects are just not, they don't cut it. When somebody gets trapped and you don't know how they got trapped, it becomes a bit of a problem. It's not so fun anymore. There's a lot about this film that I feel like I would like. So I would say, as a caveat to my unwatchable, I feel like this is up my alley, at least enough that I would recommend it if you can find it with audio description. But without audio description, I don't know. You'd have about the same experience as me, where you're like, oh, I feel like that I could really enjoy this film, maybe. Sort of like watching a preview, and you're like, man, that preview looks great. But then you never actually watch the movie. You just have this opinion from the preview. You're like, that film had a killer preview. I was really excited for the film, but I didn't get to see the whole film. Well, this kind of feels that way too. It feels like I didn't get the whole thing. It's like I just got like a part of it. Part of it that seemed entertaining. I get the layout. I get what they're trying to do. But at the end of the day, this is a graphically violent action revenge thriller. And all of those things need audio description. So, that's it. That's the whole crux of the problem, is that Showtime passed on making this film accessible. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Yes, I do still review films without audio description and talk about why they need to have audio description, because these companies seem very confused. So please subscribe, so that way I have as big of a social footprint as possible, so these companies notice what I'm saying. I do have a website, magsmovieguy.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or Threads at Mac the Movie Guy. You can go to the Audio Description Project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what is audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who is narrating your favorite films and television series and actually have audio description. Anyway, that's it for me today. I will review something else and see you guys on the other side.